Okie dokie. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. So.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, this is Silky. I'm calling from the USA, from California.
Wow. Hi, Silky.
Hi.
And when are you moving? Or are you thinking of moving?
We don't know yet. Probably within the next 6 to 9 months.
Cool.
It depends, kind of like my husband is researching where to set up at the moment. His company a subsidiary somewhere in South Africa, and he's researching it at the moment.
Yeah, I remember your email. So it's either kind of, was it Botswana, Cape Town, or Joburg?
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
hey guys, I don't want to interrupt. I just joined and I'm so sorry. I'm Sina, with Joburg expat, and I became a victim of the time change.
Oh, bless you. I'm sorry.
I kept my time at 12:30 my time, but since then we've gone to fall and winter, and so it's changed. Sorry about that. Thanks for starting it off, Hannah.
No worries. I was literally just chatting to people, seeing who's online. But now we can crack on. And Melissa was teaching me how to use Zoom.
Oh, I thought you knew how to use Zoom.
Yeah, so she could teach us. Okay, let me go to share screen.
Get the chat up. There we go. And sorry, Hannah, I was just about to put some information up there, so I'm just going to do it verbally.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
I've got some great road trip info, so.
Perfect. Okay. So thanks for joining us. Sina and I run these every month, and we cover different topics each month. So at the moment, everyone in South Africa is, the schools finished last week, and so they're preparing to head off onto their annual kind of Christmas holidays. So similar to the States and Europe in August, happens here, and I guess in Australia too, right about now. And South Africans love a road trip. I think the furthest road trip I had done before moving here was about 5 hours down to Cornwall in the UK. And certainly the prospect of doing a road trip with children filled me to dread, especially when you could just jump on a plane to get there. I didn't quite understand. But anyway, we then one year wanted to take our Christmas tree with us. You can't take a Christmas tree on an aeroplane, so we did it. And I have to say, it was just phenomenal, absolutely amazing. And now every Christmas, we also pack our car and our trailer and head off on probably about a 15-hour road trip. And it's certainly the best way to see the country. So some of the road trips you can take, some of the more popular ones are down to Cape Town or down to the Eastern Cape. Lesotho is just a world of its own. I can talk about that later. The Garden Route, there's so much information out there on the Garden Route. It's the most popular route by tourists, but absolutely stunning. And then kind of the surrounding African countries, you could head off into Namibia, Mozambique, and the Okavango Delta. So for this webinar, we're just going to be covering mainly Joburg to Cape Town, and then Sina's going to talk on, which one are you going to talk on, Sina?
I'm going to talk about going north to Botswana. And mainly Maun and Chobe, just because that's pretty much where everybody wants to go. Yeah. And that's a great gateway to the Okavango Delta and just a lot of wildlife that you can see from there.
Perfect. But then the others, you're more than welcome to email us. And if you join as a member, then we can also give you all the information you need and put together an itinerary over in the members club, which would be specific to whichever road trip you want to go on. So I'll start off giving you kind of an overview of the different routes you can take. And then we're going to go on to some safety tips and what to pack. And then the second part of the webinar, we will talk about how to actually purchase a car in South Africa for those of you that are moving across. So the shortest and the quickest route, if you want to get down to Cape Town, is via Bloemfontein. And there's quite a few toll roads and there's quite a few police and speed traps, particularly at this time of year. So it's best to get up and go early, and then you can get through the tolls quickly, because the most frustrating thing is that you can be queuing and it adds like another 20 minutes to your journey, and there's 2 or 3 tolls. So it can add easily another hour and a half if you hit it at the wrong time. The worst possible day to travel to Cape Town would be the 16th of December, which is a national holiday. And so kind of probably the 15th or 16th. Okay. So this is the shortest route, and if you are doing it in 2 days, which I probably would recommend, you could stop off in Coldsberg at the Kilfontein cottages, which are absolutely beautiful, and the food is scrummy. Or if you want to head on further down, you can stop off at Beaufort West, or if you've got a family, at Richmond in the Bloemhof, which is just absolutely the most incredible guest house and in the middle of nowhere. And they take you at this time of year up to see the reindeers, which are the impala, and they just amazing with your kids. Amazing, home cooked, fresh food. Such a lovely family. So I always recommend people go and stay.
Hannah, where was that? What town was that in?
It's in Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah, so Richmond is, I don't have a cursor, but just a bit further south on Beaufort West.
Okay.
I can give you all of this afterwards as well. It's fine. So then the second route is a bit longer. That's the wrong rubbish. Sorry. I was meant to do is via Kimberley. So just west of Bloem is Kimberley, and you would go via Kimberley and then down to where that 15 hours is, which is Beaufort West, and then you go through Beaufort West. You can stay over the night in Kimberley, and the advantage of doing this is that road from Joburg to Kimberley is much quieter and fewer police. So you could just drive on the open road and it's spectacular. So you could go via Kimberley, stay at Kimberley Country Club, and then head on down. And then if you wanted another night, you could also stay at the top. And then this route into Cape Town, I just put via Outstrom, so you could see the ostriches, and then in through the winelands into Cape Town. And probably route 1 and route 2 take about the same time. On Google Maps, it says it's longer. I don't actually, because there's fewer tolls and fewer police. Okay, I'm just going to, give me a second. I'm just going to try and mute us all. How can I do that without this? I have to stop share. Just whoever's making dinner, it's making us all very hungry. So I'm just gonna mute. Okay, cool. So does anyone have any questions on those two before I go back in? Or does that all sound good?
Would you recommend doing it in 2 days, Hannah, and spending the night on one of those places, like you said, like a nice, secluded somewhere?
Yeah, you can do it in one go, but that would involve driving at night. And if you don't know the road, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
There's potholes that come up.
We're going to get to tips later, but I think that's one of the big tips for travel in South Africa on road trips. And our South African friends taught us that. We wouldn't have known. You leave at the crack of dawn. The sun rises so early in South Africa. So you leave at the crack of dawn and you want to get there before dark. That's just like an ironclad rule our friends have always employed. So we've just always done that too. So if you have to, you spend the night in a nice place. And there's so many nice places that are lovely. Rather than trying to force it, and drive at after dark.
And I always find as well, the road trip kind of helps, particularly my husband, to switch off from work. It's like you leave work in Joburg and then you have 2 days kind of nothing. And then you can start your holiday rather than flying. You're just boom, straight into your holiday.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know if there's science behind that, but that's what we found.
Hannah or Sina, is there anything in Bloemfontein that's worth like staying for an extra day along the road trip?
Or Kimberley?
Well, Kimberley has the big hole.
Kimberley has the big hole, yeah.
And I've always I've always regretted that I never got to see that, but it's really just, you go there, you see it, and I think you're done. And then Bloemfontein has a university, right? Bloemfontein is probably a pretty nice town. I don't know, I haven't been there.
It's interesting. The only reason we've been is when we've been to sports fixtures. So we went to see the Football World Cup. We drove to see England get smashed by Germany. So maybe that's why I don't like it. And it's an interesting town, but I don't think I wouldn't add an extra day to go see it. Yeah, and it's easily doable from Joburg as a weekend trip if you wanted to. Maybe do that.
Or you could maybe stop by for lunch in Bloemfontein on your way, have lunch there and then continue on and spend the night further south. Right? Yeah,
I just wouldn't do that at this time of year because the traffic would be horrendous.
So you'll go around it on your trip. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, at this time of year. But if you're doing a road trip at another time of year, then fine. It's just kind of this time of year.
Thanks.
Cool. No worries. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so the big road trip, if you have a lot of time and you want to you're only going to go down to Cape Town once by car, then this would be my suggested route that you can do over a week probably, if not longer. And it would be to drive down to Clarence. Clarence is beautiful, and I definitely would recommend going there for a weekend, even if you're not doing this road trip. And then from Clarence, you could drive into Lesotho. So Google Maps wasn't being my friend, and I didn't know how to go into, maybe because there's not that many roads in Lesotho. But drive into Lesotho and then back out of, you either stay there for a night or just do it in a day and then stay on the border again, because Lesotho, when I say doesn't really have roads, it really doesn't. It's like a blast from the past. Absolutely one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my entire life. But you just have to set those expectations of rural, like no electricity, no water, but it's just magical. Anyway, so you could go through Lesotho and then back out and then down and to Graaf-Renat, which is a stunning kind of village town. And this route, you go over, there's the Orange River there, so you go over the Orange River, Graaf-Renat, and then Outram down to George, and then all of this, Mossel Bay is the garden route via Hermanus into Cape Town. So that's a big route, but if maybe that would be good for you if you're not going to be in South Africa for too long, Melissa, or if you, if you just want to do the road trip once. That would be my suggestion.
Sorry, Hannah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's just me. I can't see the maps. Is it my screen? Is it like that?
Thanks for telling me. Okay, what can you see? Just me talking?
No, I can see half of your screen and then the rest of your PowerPoint on the left. Is that my screen?
Let me try that again then.
Can everybody else see it? Because I saw the whole map.
I saw the first map, but not the second.
Yeah, I was able to see everything. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was able to see everything as well.
And Tash, now can you see everything?
Probably not.
I'm playing around with your screen views. Within Zoom, there's different options of what you can see.
Okay.
Does that help? No.
Yeah, I will have a look.
And like Hannah was saying, we'll give you the information afterwards.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I can send you the PowerPoint which has all the maps.
Okay, great.
Fine. And Tash, you're also a member, so I'll put this PowerPoint and the webinar into the members club, so you can download it from the online portal there too.
Excellent, thank you. I'll let you guys carry on and I'll try and figure it out.
Sorry. But no, thank you. And if anyone else can't see anything, please tell us. I don't want to just talk to myself. Okay, Sina, over to you.
Okay, well, I'm not as prepared because I was missing that hour with nice little maps. But basically, like I said, to go into Botswana, so there's different trips you can basically take when you are in Johannesburg, and depending on how much time you have. But the very first trip that most people want to take is into Chobe National Park in Botswana.
Which is incredible.
And the other trip that, just as an aside, is Victoria Falls, and that one I would recommend just flying into in Zimbabwe or even into Zambia. It's right on the border. So that's a good trip to just do like a long weekend and fly into, honestly. But you'd also like combine the two. You could drive into Chobe and then add a day trip to Victoria Falls as well. So Chobe, and I'm so sorry, Hannah, do you have like just maybe a Google map you can put up while you're sharing the screen?
Yeah.
And just blow it up. Just put Maun, Botswana, M-A-U-N. And I apologize for not being better prepared.
Yay, I'm back.
Oh, yay. Maybe Google Maps did it. So
where am I putting?
Put Maun, M-A-U-N.
Yeah.
Botswana. And then like zoom out of it so we can see sort of the whole Southern Africa map. So what you do is when you take a road trip to Botswana, and Hannah, do you want to talk about the tips later, or you want to talk about the tips as I go?
As you go, it's fine.
Okay. So the one thing about Botswana, it's beautiful to camp there. That's what I would recommend doing is to either go to like a nice lodge or camp, or do a combination of both. You can probably zoom in a little bit more again to just have Johannesburg and that red, the red.
I was giving people that lack knowledge of.
Oh yes, definitely. So the one thing to know about Botswana is you have to absolutely book very, very early. So that would be my number one tip. I think the route to Cape Town is different in that you can probably get, lodging at one of those nice places Hannah mentioned pretty easily. But into Botswana,
not at this time of year. Not at this time of year.
Yeah.
This time of year, you have to book like 9 months in advance. Yeah.
I was going to say 9 months, maybe even a year. And in Botswana, I think that's.
But that's only. Sorry, saying that's only like literally at this time of year because so many people hit the roads.
Hit the road, and many people do go to the beaches.
If you leave it till January, you're fine.
Yeah. Well, Botswana is a little different because the times of year are a little bit different. For instance, in the Okavango Delta, the highest flooding, I think, occurs maybe in July or August. So that's when people travel there as well. So anytime you want to camp in Botswana or even go to a lodge, you're well advised to book like 8 months in advance. And especially if you're going to camp in a national park, you need to get the permits and you need to book, like some people book it a year in advance. So that's just very important. So the route to the most direct route, and I think that makes most sense to go to Maun and is north on the N1 from Johannesburg. So you would just travel north and then to Bela Bela and Mokopane. I don't know if we can see that at all. I think that is the right route that you're showing.
Yeah.
Yes, that is absolutely the right route. So you're traveling north through Pretoria.
Yeah, that was Bela Bela. Yeah.
Bela Bela is to the right there. Sorry, I'm missing part of it because I have you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe
you just talk and I'll illustrate.
Yes. So you move to Bela Bela Mokopane, and then you would turn onto the N11, and that takes you to a border post named Martin's Drift, and that'll take you right there. I think. No, that's not. Yeah, Martin's Drift, and then you would enter into Botswana and go through Serowe. You see Serowe right there, and then Letakane. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah,
and then continue on through to Maun. And Maun is sort of the entryway to the Okavango Delta and also Chobe. So then from there, you could basically you see Moremi Game Reserve. That's like a great national game reserve in Botswana where you can, that's pretty much the heart of the Okavango Delta. And there are like a lot of different lodges that are all beautiful. It's hard to recommend one because they're all just wonderful. And you can also camp in Moremi Game Reserve. So we were there on our way. My husband and I did a safari in Botswana. It was not a road trip, but we went from different, we stayed in different safari lodges, and we met people who did a road trip in Moremi Game Reserve. And it was just amazing. They were telling us this story about how this leopard was passing by their tent at night, and they saw this spoor in the morning, and they were kind of frightened by it. And it was just amazing to see that, they were right there, and there was all the wildlife right beside them. But they also had told us that it's really important to book it way in advance.
And I would also say we had friends that had a crocodile bite their tent. So I just couldn't quite believe it. But they showed me the crocodile teeth jaw marks out of their tent. So I would advise, if you're going to stay and camp, then maybe do it on a trailer so you're off the ground. Because the following morning they walked around the campsite and they realized every other tent
was a rooftop tent.
Was a rooftop tent or on a trailer or something.
I would say that too. I mean,
these guys knew.
Most people, you'll either have a 4x4. I wouldn't go into Botswana without that. You'll either have a 4x4 or you'll rent a 4x4. You can also rent those fully fitted campers. They're a little bit different than campers here. Like they're very well equipped. They have little mini kitchens and water tanks and everything in them. Anyway, if you do camp, I would also say if you have a regular 4x4, you want to go with the rooftop tent. So from Maun, you can also fly into Maun, by the way. But since we're talking road trips, then, this is the most direct route. And I don't think I would recommend any other way. The other thing I was going to say is when you do that trip, you can do it in one day, but it might be easier to do it in 2 days and camp either in Serowe. It has, it's called the Kama Rhino Sanctuary. And that would be a great place to spend the night and, be in a great lodge where you can see a lot of wildlife. But otherwise, you could also stay on the South African side, just south of the border, and find there's a lot of different accommodations right there. that you
Yeah,
could spend the night.
Bella Bella has a great place, doesn't it? Is that?
Yeah, although that's a little bit further south, so you wouldn't be so close to getting to Maun. So I would try to go all the
But
way.
maybe on the way back.
I would go to the border, spend the night right before it, or go through to Serowe and then make the trip to Maun the next time.
Cool.
Did you see Francistown there to the north of it? So if you didn't go to Maun and wanted to go straight to Kasane, which is sort of, that's in the heart of Chobe, then you could also go through Francistown on the right there.
There.
It doesn't want to move that way. And so Kasane is, if you went to Maun first and then to Kasane, you would go to east from Maun to Nata, and then to Kasane north. So Kasane is sort of to the northeast of, do you see Nata to the right there? A little bit more to the right.
There. Yeah.
There it is. And then you would go north towards Kasane, which is to the left of Victoria Falls. If you just scoot down your map a little bit, you'll see Kasane right there next to Victoria Falls. So that's how you would get from Maun around Chobe National Park up to Kasane. And then from there, you basically have lots and lots of possibilities. In Kasane itself, I've heard really good things. We've never stayed there, but I've heard really good things about the Chobe Safari Lodge.
Yeah, we did that. We didn't road trip, but yeah. Oh my word. That was our first safari in South Africa, spoilt. Like that river trip. You must have done the river. Did you do the river?
We never went up to Kasane. We only went to Maun. So I've heard great things. The Kasane is just awesome, you know, for watching elephants along the river. And yes,
yeah, I was going to say the elephants and
you can go on boats.
Oh, it was absolutely magical.
There's I don't know where the Zambezi Queen goes through. There's a boat called Zambezi Queen that's just absolutely spectacular. I imagine it like a Mississippi River cruise, but then with elephants on the banks of the river. So it's absolutely beautiful. So because the Chobe Safari Lodge is very well known and very popular. There's another one called the Kubu Lodge, the Thebe River Lodge. And then if you want to camp, there's also the Senyati Safari Camp. Hannah, have you heard of that?
No.
Senyati, it's Senyati. And that is apparently a very good campground if you want to camp.
The other thing just to mention, if you do a weekend trip up to Vic Falls, the lodges can be really, really expensive. But if you book on bush breaks or empty beds, they always have deals.
Yeah.
So book through those.
Bushbreaks.co, and then empty beds is just the letter M and the letter T.
Yeah.
Beds. The other thing is when you go, if you want to drive into any of these national parks or game reserves, you need to stop at the entrance and, you know, get information and also updated road conditions. Sometimes these routes through those game reserves involve river crossings. And I've heard some very adventurous stories about these river crossings. So you want to make sure you know which roads are passable and what kind of 4x4 you would need to get through these rivers. Some people just don't recommend that because it can be, you know, challenging. So you might want to go around some of those. The road trip that we've done, but that kind of like blows the scope of this webinar, is we went just more to the west of all of this into Namibia, but we did pass through Botswana. And you can just zoom out maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
And show the whole area of Southern Africa. So Namibia is there to the west of Botswana. And we drove through the sort of the southern tip, the Kalahari Transfrontier Park. It's basically the Kalahari Desert. You drive through that to get to Windhoek in Namibia, which is the capital. And then you can do whatever you want. Etosha National Park is there to the north. The Skeleton Coast, then Swakopmund on the coast is beautiful. It's just an amazing road trip. And again, you can do it with your own car, you can rent a car, or you can fly in and rent a car. We took our own car and we only had one spare tire. And if I can recommend one thing for road trips in Southern Africa is you have to have more than one spare tire. And I I could tell you the whole story, but literally 3 tires blew in a single afternoon. And it was...
I do not know one person that's done Namibia without tires going.
Yes, and if we had planned it better ahead of time, we wouldn't probably have done it, or we would have been prepared. And it ended up working out, and we met some really lovely people along the way. But we were really lucky too, because we basically both tires burst near the only towns that we passed by at that particular moment that day. There were no other habitations, and we happened to find the one with a gas station that could fix the first tire. Then we happened to find the second one that had a mechanic in some backyard that looked very sort of deliverance type. So anyway, I have a whole book that I'm writing about it, but Namibia is a wonderful road trip all on its own, and it's totally doable. The roads to there from South Africa are perfect. It just takes some time to get there.
And would you do that as a separate trip, or could you do Botswana and Namibia in one?
No, I would totally do it as a separate trip.
Okay.
If I did it again, I think I would fly into Windhoek and rent a 4x4 there and then do the road trip. Namibia is great by car in a road trip, but there's really no reason to drive all the way there. It was a for us, it was a cost issue. We have 4 children, and so we just didn't want to fly with 6 people. But yeah. That's what I would recommend, and I would definitely do a different trip to Chobe and Kasane and that whole area, and then yet another trip to Victoria Falls. But you could combine Chobe and Victoria Falls into one trip if you wanted to, because Victoria Falls, you really just need a good, nice, long day to see the falls and to do a little bit of hiking maybe.
Which route did you take? Did you do this one?
No, that's how we came back through Uppington, but we went more the other, I don't think either one. I think, the Gaborone, and then, yes, that's the one we took, the blue one. Yeah. That's the most direct one. Mm-hmm. And it took us 2 days. We stayed like smack dab in the middle. There's a road sort of park lodge that most people stay at. I forget the name at the second, but anyway, it's like halfway there, and you stay at a lodge right on the highway, and it's functional. It's not that lovely, but it's functional, and then you just continue on.
Cool.
And then on the way back, we went through Uppington on that gray route, and the reason we did that is we came down on the Skeleton Coast through Swakopmund, then we crossed over and down to the Orange River, so the border between South Africa, right where Uppington is, and then over to the coast. That's the Orange River, and you can raft on the Orange River. That's another beautiful trip that we added on to our road trip, and it was lovely. And then
you took all your kids rafting?
We took all the 4 kids rafting. They will say that they didn't like it because, it was nature, but we really, really liked it. And it was 3 days. You can do it any length of time. We did it with a tour company, and they provide a guide who then does all the cooking for you on the riverbanks. You pitch a tent on the riverbanks at night, and it's one of the most memorable trips that we've ever taken. Yeah,
it's on our list of things.
And the only reason I'm mentioning it is because you can really only do it with a road trip, because you cannot get to the Orange River. Uppington is still many hours away from the Orange River. So if you fly into Uppington, you still have to cover some distance to get there. So it's really out of the way, but it's really worth it.
Cool.
So I wanted to Hannah, do you think it's time to talk about a few more tips? We talked about road conditions, so ask at the entrances to these game reserves about current road conditions. I also would say if you do a road trip, you have to absolutely carry enough water with you, and maybe more than you think is enough, and the spare tires we mentioned. A good first aid kit is a must, I would say. And then as far as currency, Hannah, would you say that you can probably get by with South African Rand, but if you're going to go into Botswana, you might want to have some pula, correct?
Yeah.
Do some exchange the money first?
Yeah. I would.
There you go. Oh, the other thing, now that I mention it, is you need a sticker for your car. Do you have that?
No.
It's like a sticker, or we had a magnet that you can put on different cars that has your country, basically your letters for your country. So it's Z or ZA for South Africa. And because the police will stop you and tell you that you need to pay a fine because you didn't have the correct identification, which country you're coming from. So get one of those magnets or stickers.
Where'd you get the sticker from?
I do not recall. But you know what? I had it for years here in the US, and I loved having it on my car, and it fell off or got stolen the other day, and I was really mad. But I think you can get it at any, I honestly don't remember where we got it, at the mall, at Four Ways Mall somewhere.
Okay, I can find out. Hang on.
I saw them in Cape Union the other day. They had
there you go.
That's probably where we got it. Absolutely.
Cape Union is, for those that haven't moved here yet, it's like the best outdoor shop that has every gadget and survival kit you can think of.
Yeah. There's another one, a big one that I forget the name of.
Put that here.
In Four Ways.
something south. I think something.
Sweet. No.
Outdoor World or something like that, maybe? No? Maybe
Okay.
I've been away too long, so I don't remember those names. But yeah, they're easy to get. You can probably even order them online. But I would just say that's good to have. You basically want to avoid all the reasons why the police could stop you. They inspected our trailer. We had a trailer with all our stuff in it, and they wanted to see what we had in it. Now, that's another thing. In Botswana, I think you're not allowed to import any beef. So if you're bringing like your biltong and stuff, or I have friends who came with like their meat that they were going to cook while they were camping, and there's restrictions on that. So you want to investigate that first.
Good to know. Then the other thing that's just useful for any road trip that you're going is to check your driving license. And particularly for those that are moving to South Africa, just check your driving license now when it expires. And it might just be good and easier for you just to renew it now if you can, because it's a hassle. And also in South Africa, you have to carry your driving license on you at all times. So make sure it's not expired, because if you do get caught in a roadblock, you don't want to have to talk your way out of that one. And then certified copies of your passports. Again, roadblocks here are quite regular. So it just is helpful for you to be prepared in your car, and then it gives you the confidence that you have all the documentation you need, and you can just stand your ground and be more assertive and not feel threatened, basically. So I always have certified copies of both mine and my husband's passports, which are just in a folder in the car, and then actually the certified copy of our traffic registration numbers as well.
And we'll get to those in just a minute. Yeah.
So then there's lots of toll roads on all road trips you're taking. So make sure you have stacked up on small change. They are getting better with cards, credit cards and stuff, but mainly they don't, and certainly don't accept foreign credit cards. Then if you're traveling, particularly with family, the service stations get really, really busy at this time of year, and it's all just this time of year. If you travel any other time, you're absolutely fine, or maybe in and around Easter as well. But the queues are just ridiculous for the Wimpeys and the steers and stuff. So it might be you can still use the play areas that are at the service stations. And there's also kind of dog water bowls and things. But I would suggest packing your own food and supplies.
Yeah.
And then you can stop off at the side of the road. There's often really nice picnic spots, rather than having to rely on service stations, which might or might not exist. The other trap we fell into was thinking that there was a petrol station closer than it actually was. So I never thought we were going to run out of petrol, and thankfully we made it, but it was very touch and go. So just be aware of how much petrol you have and how far away the next petrol station is. And don't rely on your GPS to tell you where that next petrol station is, because often that petrol station might have closed down, or, as in our case, just had run out. so they no longer could help us. This is a good phone number, the anti-corruption phone number that you can phone if you do get pulled over and you've shown all your certification and you don't understand what's going on. Then you just tell the police officer that this is you're going to phone the anti-corruption number just to check what your rights are and everything. This app is a great app that, first of all, you can report any corruption, but secondly, it connects you to any first aid emergency services that you need on a national scale. So definitely download that app before you go, and have a hard copy of your map. Don't just rely on your GPS.
Absolutely. I would second that. I'm glad you put that in there, because in this day and age, we tend to rely on our GPS and so many things can go wrong. Like again, in Namibia, we have a great story of where we were basically standing in the middle of nowhere with our GPS telling us that we had arrived, and our kids getting really panicky looks in their eyes because there were just a few goats next to us. And it turned out that the coordinates were wrong. And then we couldn't call anybody to find the right directions because we had no cell phone signal. So a good map will get you out of a pickle, like nothing else.
And then I put this one in for you.
Yeah.
The tire lock nut. Do you want to explain what a tire?
Yeah, I'm going to explain that real quick. And that really only happens if you have a luxury car or like a more higher end car. But most of us probably will have that, especially if you have several children. You'll have a bigger car. So we had an Audi Q7, and it came with these nice tires, and it had a special, it had 4 screws like any wheel has to screw it onto the car, but one of those screws was different than the others. And what it is, it's like it has a special shape, and that shape is so unique that only a special nut can fit onto that, nut, I guess. A special wrench can fit onto that nut to actually loosen it so you can change your tire. And it's to protect yourself from your tires being stolen, because that happens all the time in South Africa. I've heard stories where people left their car for like a few hours and came back and it had no wheels on it because they're a commodity that people steal. So to protect from that, good, nice cars come with these tire lock nuts. And they are just basically a sort of adapter that you put between the wrench and the screw on your tire, on your wheels. And I didn't know this. So the first time I had to change my tire, I didn't know how to get it off. And only by a lot of digging in the trunk somewhere did I find that tire lock nut. Or no, I think we actually know. I had to go back home because my husband had taken it out of the car not knowing what it was, but he, being a good German, had kept it somewhere in the garage. But I had to go, get a ride home to find the tire lock nut, to then change the wheels. It was like a big ordeal, like everything in South Africa usually is. So it made for a great story, but you don't want to be caught with that. So when you purchase a car, it would be a good idea to ask, does it have a tire lock nut for your wheels? And then keep it in a place where everybody knows that's where it is.
Or get your car serviced before you go and just ask there as well.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
Border crossings are another thing that I don't know. Are you going to talk about that still?
No, you go.
Yeah, I just would say for border crossings that to plan enough time for them and not think that, we're just going to go to Botswana and we're going to be there in such and such time. You will need at least an hour on a good day, and probably longer, because it's just a procedure. You have to wait in a line, then you have to get certain documents to fill out. Then you probably have to pay some kind of fee. I think Botswana has some kind of road fee. It's not very much. It's just a few $100 and you have to pay it to use their roads, but you have to do all that. Then you have to wait for some official to stamp all your documents, and that can take time because they might actually drag their feet a little bit. So it's a good idea to, like, if you have smaller children, to use it as a stop, to go to the bathrooms, have your lunch maybe, and just kind of make your way through the whole process and not get annoyed by the fact that it takes way too long.
Cool. Then most of the staying safe we've already mentioned. There's a lot of police out on the roads at this time of year. So stick to the speed limit. Don't drive in the dark because of the potholes. And also, if something does happen, you don't want to be in an isolated place by yourself in the dark. Also in the dark, you can hit animals. There's lots of animals that cross the road.
There's also often people walking on the side of the road. So I know you had in there, Hannah, you know, sometimes it's polite to pull over into the, what's it called?
Into the yellow, you pull over when someone's
if someone is going faster than you in South Africa, a lot of people will pull to the right, you know, if they're slower, and then let you pass, and then you flash your lights to thank them for it.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you're driving at dark, which we recommend you don't do in the first place, but if you did, don't do that thing where you let people pass you, where you pull to the side of the road, because people might be walking on that strip in the dark and you just cannot see them, and you certainly don't want to hit anybody.
But there won't be other people on the road in the dark. But you know, so having said that, we leave Joburg at 3 in the morning. And in the summer, it's light by kind of 4, 4:30. So we do leave Joburg early.
In the dark.
Because the street,
because you're fine driving through the Joburg suburbs in the dark.
But it's just if you're leaving somewhere else early, I wouldn't advise it if you don't know the roads. And then also just a simple thing which you should do all the time anyway is lock your car and then just check that it's locked and it hasn't been jammed, because it happens a lot at service stations. Your stuff will get stolen. And if you are, say, heading to Cape Town or wherever, don't go straight to a tourist attraction with all your stuff in the car. Just don't do it. Go straight to your hotel or to your guest house, unpack your stuff. And same if you are driving to the airport, don't stop off at Table Mountain on your way to the airport with all your stuff in the car. Chances are it will get stolen like anywhere else in the world. Cool. Okay, so secondly, purchasing a car. We've got lots of information.
Can I add a question before we get into the second part?
Yeah.
So we found ourselves with some extra time during the holidays, and how crazy would it be to go to Cape Town planning? I feel like super last minute.
So you want to go to Cape Town now for Christmas?
We're having a debate.
Okay, you know, every time I tell people that you're never going to find somewhere, they always end up finding somewhere. So
yeah, he's got it pulled up on the screen beside me.
Can I recommend, if you do go to Cape Town, where we've always been lucky and it's a very decent price, is the Westin Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called the Westin V&A, Victoria and
Albert. We have a lot of Marriott
Hotel.
points that allow us to stay at Marriott's for free, and I just pulled up. It says there's 13 Marriott hotels in Cape Town that are available. We were mostly just worried, not as much about accommodations, because we figured no matter what, there should be a room somewhere. It's more of if it'd be better to go there at a different time of year, or if this time of year would still be worthwhile and not so busy that it's miserable to move around the city, especially with the drought that they're dealing with.
So I think that's just your personal preference. Like, I personally don't mind the crowds. I love a good vacation spot that's crowded, has lots of people and everything. So if you don't mind that, if you like tourists, then I think it would be a good time to go. But if you can pick the perfect time, I thought to go to Cape Town was
April.
Yes, in like March, April time. That was just really, really lovely. But I mean, I think you can go now if you can find accommodations. Just be prepared that the waits are going to be long for everything that you do. So, if you want to go up to Table Mountain, you might have to wait several hours for the
and some. It is horrendous. So my parents came out last year. And so what we do when we go to Cape Town is we go to the beach and we hire a house on the beach, and we do not leave that area between Christmas and New Year. So that 1 week is hell on earth. We tried to go to Table Mountain. We just turned around and came home. The journey took so long because the traffic is so horrendous. Like, they need to change the road infrastructure in Cape Town. And obviously they need to get water. So I would say don't do it to yourselves with the tourist attractions. Cape Point, Table Mountain, it's all going to be horrendous.
See, I haven't done it, so I
just go to the beach.
I would listen to Hannah.
If you want to go to the beach, it's great. It's really great, you know. And if you are quite happy to kind of find a hotel and then just walk around and potter around, also great, brilliant. And it's really vibey because there's so much going on down there. It's so Christmassy. Whereas up here in Joburg, everything now will shut, so you won't be able to go out anywhere. There's no restaurants open. The coffee shops close. Lots of stuff isn't open. So Cape Town's a fun Christmas place to go to, but you just have to plan it out. And I wouldn't do the touristy stuff. I would do that at a separate time. You could probably drive, say, down to Simon's Town, that and Coke Bay would be less busy, but only that week between Christmas and New Year. Then after that, it quietens up again.
Yeah, I'm pushing to hold off a little bit because we obviously want to do Table Mountain and the other tourist stuff, and I just think it'll be chaos.
It really will. You're just wasting your time.
The thing is, it's so easy to get to all year round. Like, we regret in hindsight that we didn't go to Cape Town more often. You fly, especially if you live in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg, you just go to Lanseria Airport and take one of the budget airlines, and you fly into Cape Town on a Friday morning, for instance, and you get there in 2 hours. You have the whole day and the next day and the next day, and you have a nice weekend with no crowds, and it's so easy to do. So, the one thing, I hate to say it, but the best place to be sometimes over the Christmas holidays is Joburg itself. We actually didn't travel that much over Christmas. We ended up staying in Johannesburg most of the time, and it's lovely because for once the traffic is great and you can go to the movies and you can do day trips to like Pilanesberg and, different things like that. I honestly probably would keep Cape Town for a trip just on any random day or weekend of the year.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks, ladies.
No worries. So purchasing a car, firstly, if you want to import your car, it's quite a long process and you have to have owned it for 6 months prior to shipping it out. There's conflicting advice about whether or not you need a permanent residence visa or not. But I think you can ship in like up to 3 cars. So cars here are much more expensive. So if that's an option, I would certainly look at importing a car.
So I have a blog post, and I'll share that. We'll share that with you in the notes we send out afterwards about importing a car to South Africa. I know one person who's done it, and I think it has to be some kind of specialty car though to get it approved. Like, you can't just import any kind of car, as far as I understand. And there's some.
No, there's a separate condition for specialty cars.
Or maybe they're cheaper, like you don't have to pay an additional import tax on them.
Yeah, but you can. We've had friends that imported their BMW X5, so you can also.
It's some paperwork to do, but most people, I would say the vast majority of people that I know have just purchased a car in South Africa, and the used car market is pretty nice. I mean, you have to be prepared to pay, like, compared to the US, I don't know about England, Hannah, but compared to the US, the price is twice as high as here. So you have to just be prepared that cars are going to be double the price as to what you use here, but you can also then sell it again at a higher price as well. So if you see it as an investment, then it's not that bad, but you have to have enough cash or something to buy that car in the first place. So we bought ours through a dealership. Autotrader.co.za has a lot of inventory, and the dealerships advertise on that as well. So that's probably the best way to get started for secondhand cars.
Yeah.
Or go to a specific dealer that has the brand and make that you want.
Yeah. If you're buying privately, and there's quite a bit of paperwork that the seller will need to give you, or you need to negotiate whether you do the roadworthy certificate or whether they do. You'll need some sort of proof of purchase. So your bank statement or your bank proof of purchase. No, what's it called? Proof of payment.
Yeah.
And then the registration details, the current registration. So there's a registration certificate that you get. So you'll need all of those. And then as a foreigner, to drive in South Africa, you don't need to get any other license. You can drive on, we certainly can drive on British and American. If your license is in another language, you'll have to get that translated and a certified copy of it.
But the question often arises, do I need an international driver's license? And we got ourselves one when we moved to South Africa, and it was the most useless piece of paper ever, because
we did the same.
It comes actually on a piece of paper. First of all, it's only valid for, I think, 6 months or maybe a year.
Yeah.
And it comes on a piece of paper. And let me tell you, in South Africa, the cops have no idea anyway, but they will take a credit card size driver's license at much more face value than a printed, paper document, even though the international license should supersede any national license. So your American or English or whatever it is, European driver's license is perfectly fine, as long, and you should know the rules, because you will get stopped and the cops will try to tell you that you don't have the right license. So you have to know your rights, and that's another blog post we'll share with you. But your license, as long as it is in one of South Africa's 11 languages, and presumably yours will be English, as long as it's in English, is currently still valid and has your picture on it, is enough. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not. What I recommend, and I have that blog post I'll share with you, but what I recommend is there is a document called the South African Road Traffic Act, and it's like many pages long. And what I did is, and I have that page, or those 2 pages, that passage on my blog that talks about the driver's license and the TRN, and I just printed those few pages off and even highlighted the passage and put it in my glove compartment and kept it there. So anytime I got stopped, I would just flourish that at the cop and say, here it is, this is your own law, and it always shut them up. It always got me through. So
great. Love that.
Hannah, I had a question about registration.
Yeah, sure.
So we bought a Jeep, I guess a month ago now, or 3 weeks ago, and the Jeep dealership is taking care of the registration for us. So we have a temporary plate on our car, paper in the window. It expired yesterday. We called them, still dealing with bank stuff, so they gave us a new one today. So we don't, I guess, have the car officially registered, and we're talking about going on this road trip. Should we expect concerns with that?
No. I would try and get it, but it's going to be hard now to get it. But I would maybe have a letter from your dealership saying that they are in the process of it being registered. So just cover yourselves by having it on letterheaded, that you're fully aware and that you are doing everything that you possibly can to get it registered and to comply with the law. But due to it being Christmas, things are taking longer than they do.
It's still valid, like the temporary, it has been extended, right? So you're still within the time frame.
Yeah, they give me one today, so it's fresh. It's not going to expire anytime soon while we're on the road, but just was
Hannah's right. It wouldn't hurt to get some letter if they do that for you. It's always good to have an extra document in your pocket to show to somebody.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Thank you.
And do you have your traffic register number? We'll get to that, but do you have that or not yet?
Yeah, we did. We went through that BP station in 4 ways that you recommended.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah. And so
glad.
If for those of you moving here that still have this wonderful joy of this process to go through, we can, at Translating Me, help simplify all of this for you and work with you throughout the whole thing. So we help source a car for you, then we help get it registered, then we help get your traffic registration number. So that's one of the services that we do offer. Cool. Any other questions on purchasing a car? No? Perfect. Okay, so for those living currently in the States or doing their research, I'm guessing Google has thrown up maybe some houses like this or some huts, and you're starting to think, is that how people really live in South Africa? or like this. Is that how people get around in South Africa? Or if you were like me, you wondered if you're going to have giraffes kind of passing your house every morning. You'll be pleased to know that these photos are of Lesotho. So that's why I said earlier, please, before you leave South Africa, do Lesotho. It is the most stunning place you will ever have come across. And just fun and different, and the people, like these are they wear these blankets as their clothes. They're called Basotho blankets, and I now give everyone that we go home for weddings and things, they get a Basotho blanket to use as their bedspread or whatever. And all my kids have them, and they just adore them. They're their most prized possessions. So yeah, this is called a Basotho blanket, and no. Is the honest answer. Don't worry, there is good transportation here. There are beautiful houses here, and you are in safe hands. This is a house that I placed just yesterday, clients moving from Kenya into. So I specialize in sourcing nice houses for expats, because I found that often relocation agents are on a pretty similar brief, which is here's a great house in Danefern and here's the American school, which is great for 80% of expats. But if you are one of the 20% that don't want to live on an estate or that actually want to look at other schools, then maybe they're not that helpful. Or estate agents that show you all their old stock. They hear your voice and they think, oh, brilliant, she's not going to know what's good and what's not good. We'll be able to get rid of all these old houses that have been on our books for 6 months. And so it can be pretty overwhelming and pretty scary. So whilst you're excited about this move and the adventure, I completely get that when you don't have a clue what house you're going to live in, it's pretty scary. And so basically I've put together 2 packages. There's either the done for you local assistant package, which some of you guys are already on. And that's basically $250 a month. And for that, I will then do a house search for you, do neighborhood tours, connect you in with local charities or job opportunities, and help you with all your cars. Basically, do whatever you want to simplify the information you need and give it to you when you need it. I'll even make sure there's cooked food in your fridge when you move in. But also I've just sourced kind of 2 second-hand fridges and freezers for this family as well. So when they arrive, they have everything set up. So that's the done for you service. Then there's the expat membership club, which Melissa and Tash that are on the call are part of, and that is a club to connect you with others, to share some of the best stuff that's happening here in South Africa. So to introduce you to cool new venues, places. 44 Stanley, we went behind the scenes and we met some of the owners of the shops and the brands there. Through to on Thursday, we're going to learn more about South African beading and make our own Christmas decorations. So that's the membership club, and that is $49 a month. But the good news is those prices are the 2018 prices. So from January 2018, that's the price you will pay. But if you sign up now or tomorrow, then you can get the members club for $30 and you can get the local assistant package for $149. And also within the members club will be these webinars, whereas for everyone else, we make them live for 24 hours. So they're still free to access for 24 hours afterwards. And then we put them into the archive. So has anyone got any questions on those? No. Cool. Great. Let me just show you briefly, if you do want to sign up, this is the website to go to. translating me, and then it's personal/assistant. And you'll come in here and it just gives you some information on the different packages. And then down here is where you subscribe. So join the members club and you just click this button here, subscribe. Or the survival package is the local assistant package, and it tells you everything that we do. And then that's $149 a month. Click here. The other thing we do is we have weekly chats and find out what people are doing, where they're going, and share advice over in the members club. And those will start up again in January. So yeah,
cool. Lots of options.
I just have one more question, because obviously I'm really looking forward to listening, obviously, all your experience. We love that, because obviously we went to Kilimanjaro for our honeymoon, but we have a daughter now, and she's 2. So obviously we would like to keep doing that, but I don't know, in terms of I don't know, does she need to get any vaccines, or is it okay to do with her? She will be 2 years, probably a little bit older when if we decided to do any of those trips with her. Obviously we would love to take her on that.
I'm sorry, where are you trying to take your daughter?
Well, any of the road trips, like
cool. Yeah, that's fine. I thought you were asking to take her up Kili. I was like,
we went to Kilimanjaro for a honeymoon.
That's a great honeymoon trip.
So we won't go back.
Yes.
Take her when she's 18, probably.
Yeah, I've been taking all my kids on road trips since 6 months. Absolutely fine. And the vaccines within South Africa, no. But then within the malarial areas, that's where you have to start to be a bit more concerned. But I think the doctors here say you can give malaria tablets from the age of 1.
Yeah.
So 3, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Hey, Sienna, any? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Perfect.
Yeah, well, it was nice. I didn't get to meet everybody, but I hope it's been informative. Some of you are still moving to South Africa, correct?
Yeah, Lena is in London at the moment, and they just submitted their visas, so they're hoping to move end of January. And is it Silky? Have I pronounced it correctly? Her husband's setting up a company, so they're just looking at options of Botswana, Cape Town, or Joburg as to where best.
Oh wow, those are all great choices. Well, to those who are there, I'm jealous, because you have summer right now and it's very cold all of a sudden here, although the sun is shining today. And to those that are still moving, I wish you the best of luck. And, I think between the two of us, we have a lot of resources where you can still get information from our various blogs. And, I just hope you enjoy it as much as we did with our family. We still miss South Africa every single day. Our kids too. So it'll be a great adventure. You just have to go there with a grain of patience. And if you don't have it yet, you will grow it, or you will despair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
So I want to know, just before we finish, and you can either type it in the chat or you can talk, in the next year, are you planning any road trips? Which road trip interests you the most? Choose one to tell us.
Everything looks exciting, to be honest. I don't know. I think
any road trip now.
Because I always wanted to go there. But maybe
Vic
something
Falls.
more local.
Vic Falls is great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Lena, we might need to speak to you about Kilimanjaro. That's our next big one.
Yeah, you can definitely talk to me about it. Have you read Kilimanjaro Diaries at all or not?
No.
Yeah.
So that's my book, if I can make a little bit of a pitch here too. But I climbed it with my teenage son at the time and a group of friends from South Africa. And it was
how old was your son?
He was 16.
All right. Yeah,
and we had some other boys with us that were the same age. So he had friends, and with the rest of us were friends as well. And it was the most wonderful thing I've ever done. My book is called Kilimanjaro Diaries. It has a really long subtitle, but that's all you need to know. It's on Amazon. And
you can get it from your blog, hey, as well. You can click directly.
Yes, you'll find it on my blog. Well, I've kind of done some maintenance on my blog, so right now I don't know if I have a link. I actually do have a link to books in my main menu on my blog, so you can definitely find it there. But you can just go to Amazon, get it there, and I recommend it. I think most people who read it are, feel like it's one of the better guides that's still entertaining to read to prepare for your trip. So I've got some tips in there, but mainly I'm just setting the stage for you to understand what it felt like.
You Joburg Expat on Facebook. Is that you?
Yeah. Joburg Expat is me. I'm on Facebook. I have the blog.
I read that today, and I saw a picture of you with the book. Now it's coming together.
Yes, that is me with the book, exactly. I'm still planning to write one about Namibia, but that has been put on the back burner because life happens in between. But yeah.
I have a question. I believe you had a moving planner on the website. I've been trying to download it, but somehow I don't manage.
I think, again, that's me. I did a bit of maintenance, and so maybe the links are no longer there. Let me just email it to you, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, Silky, if you want, I've got contacts here with the trade and industry, the South African trade and industry. So if your husband wants to speak to somebody about actually setting up the business here, maybe he can get some additional support. I'll happily put you in touch with the right person.
Okay, let me talk to him. He's in South Africa at the moment. He's in Cape Town at the moment. I'll tell him and see what he has to say. What the South African Trade Organization, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
The government department that's responsible for all of business and international trade.
Okay, yeah, that would be. I think he would appreciate that.
No problem. Cool.
Thank you.
Melissa, were you going to say something about a road trip that you got?
Yeah, we're looking at doing a garden route and going down to George and Port Elizabeth, and then up through Durban and back through. We had a trip planned to Clarence, but it's right in the middle of our newfound time, so we might skip Clarence this trip and save it for another time.
Or hit it on the way back, just for a day or so.
Nice.
The garden route is great. We did that by flying in and then renting a car, and we stayed in Wilderness, which was a lovely little town, not in George directly, so I can highly recommend that. And then there are so many adventurous things you can do. We did the Blaukranz bungee jump, not me myself, but our son did. And the Tsitsikamma has a nice canopy tour, and
we did that.
All sorts of four-wheelers. Then Knysna is just a beautiful place to visit just for a day. It's absolutely gorgeous. Plettenberg Bay this time of year is a nice beach, right?
Don't go anywhere near Plet at this time.
I think it's established to not go at this time of year at all. But we actually went
doing the garden route,
the middle of winter, and even then it was beautiful, and we had some really nice days.
If you're doing the garden route, just leave it to do until after New Year. So go in January if you can.
Because of traffic?
Just everything.
Because the traffic's so bad. But where isn't is if you went from Port Elizabeth up to Durban, that's fine. And the Wild Coast is spectacular, amazing.
So if you yes, I could second that. If you go to my blog, there is a post on the Wild Coast meander. We did that as well. It's about 5 days, and you walk a little bit every day, and you have porters that carry your stuff, and then you spend the night in a beautiful hotel or lodge that's in the middle of nowhere, so there's no cars or anything like that. You just walk along the beaches. So that's a beautiful trip to take. And I think that would be a good thing this time of year, because I don't think it gets that crowded there at all.
Yeah.
That's starting in East London. You would fly into East London or drive up from Cape Town, I guess.
Where was that? I missed the beginning of that.
The wild coast. So between Durban and PE.
Port Elizabeth.
Port Elizabeth, yeah.
So
the
trip is
Durban,
called
East
the
London.
Wild Coast Meander, and you can find it online. It's a thing.
Yeah, we've done Joburg to Port Alfred. So that's similar route.
Joburg to Port Alfred, no. So if you were to then go up from Port Alfred, you get to East London. And then from East London, you can go up to Durban. And that is called, so from PE downward, it's the Eastern Cape. And then as you go up from East London, not Portland, East London, that's then the wild coast.
Okay, and that's where you had the porters and
the Wild Coast Meander. It's called the Wild Coast Meander.
And it's, I suppose, kind of one step ahead of Lesotho, but do you know it's very, very rural, untouched. You can drive for 2 hours without seeing a supermarket. So pack supplies if you're going there. Don't expect to rock up and go to a Woolies. There ain't gonna be one. But it is just magical again, stunning in its beauty. Nowhere else like it in the world. It's absolutely. Cool.
I'm sending you guys a link on the chat.
Great.
That's part 2, and there's a part 1 to it too. You can link to it from there.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely do that.
But we'll send you guys more links to other things as well, you know, about buying a car and those road trips that Hannah mentioned. So you should have a good starting point.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, guys, I think, sorry, we have massively gone over time this one compared to all our others. So thank you for sticking with us. Sorry, I suppose there's just so much to share. And hopefully it's been useful and inspiring and exciting to get out and explore some more.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great Christmas if we don't see you. Have a great holidays.
Have a good Christmas and see you in New Year's.
Yeah, we'll see you in the new year.
Look forward to meeting you.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye. Thank you.
Great meeting you.
Bye.
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 Bye.